All right, we're live.
Amazing. Well, welcome everyone. It's Tad Hargrave from marketingforhippies.com. I'm here in my living room in Edmonton with Milana Leshinsky. We're talking about TeleSummits. And Milana is somebody whose name I've heard for a long time. She and I have both been in business for a while, her longer than me. And so, I had the sense from very early on in my career that her name was around, but we actually hadn't connected at all until last week.
No, that's amazing.
Yeah, it is strange. And what had us connect was, who was it who connected us?
Arjuna. Well, I asked him to connect us, so
Okay,
me.
there we go. So a connection was made,
Yeah.
and saying, well, Milana has this training coming up on TeleSummits. And I think I replied with something like, okay, but probably not, because I don't really do TeleSummits. I'm not a big fan of the way they're done mostly, and I have a video, and I suppose I'll try to post, if this is on YouTube or on my blog, a link to that video where I'd been meaning to write a blog post about it for a couple of years at that point, and finally it all just came out. I think one too many invitations.
It was like a gazillion reasons why I hate telesummits.
Yeah, and I actually recorded it so I would have something that I could send to people who were inviting me to TeleSummits to tell them why I'm probably not going to do their TeleSummit, because I just got tired of repeating it over and over again. So anyway, so I sent that to Arjuna, and anyway, and Milana got back to me and said, I think I agree with a lot of what you're saying, and we got on the phone and we talked about it, and I really resonate with a lot of what Milana had to say. So we'll probably go into through this, conversation, some of those critiques that I've had, and well, maybe actually I can start with this because it's a good overture for the whole thing. In a nutshell, when a lot of these telesummits started, there was a lot of this kind of conscious entrepreneurship. Those are the ones I was being exposed to.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got another one literally today, the same thing. And they all became so similar, and they were all asking me to promote it to their people. And so it was often a covert, hey, we'd love to interview you. And once I'd agreed, they said, oh, and by the way, we'll require that you send an email or two to your list to promote it, and which didn't feel good. And it was to promote something that was basically what I was doing anyways. So there wasn't a particular benefit. And there would be other telesummits that had a better focus, a bit more niched, that were still compelling for me. But anyways, the whole way I was approached, and I'm still approached by most people who do these types of things, doesn't sit well with me. The theme of it is often overdone. I've seen it before. There's nothing new. So if I email my list about it, I don't imagine a good response, and it's no good for me. So all of these have been the reasons why I haven't talked about TeleSummits and haven't really promoted, even in workshops, people say TeleSummits, and I'm saying, well, I don't know. And, the word on the street I've been hearing is the numbers are down, TeleSummits don't work as well. But Milana had some very compelling responses to all of my concerns, which was really refreshing to hear somebody coming at these things. And I'm always happy to be delighted and surprised and wrong about things. And so anyways, with that introduction, Milana, good to have you here.
Thank you. I appreciate you having this conversation with me. As you know, I watched that video.
Yes, you did.
And I was nodding to pretty much every single thing you were saying. I do want to mention that the word, you're saying telesummit, I actually came up with the word telesummit back in 2004. My telesummit was the very first one ever in the world. Like, the word didn't exist. The concept didn't exist as such. But today they're actually called either virtual summits or online summits. And they're pretty much, it's the same concept, but it's more about, it involves other virtual technology like video, social media. Right. 2004, that's pre-social media. Right. I remember I had to piece all the little things together. And as much as there are bad summits out there, and as much as you and I agree that most summits just blended together at this point, if you do your summit right, there is no other strategy that I know of online that can launch you into stratosphere in your business. In terms of growing your mailing list, becoming recognized, positioning yourself, monetizing your offers, again, if you do it right. So I'm sure that none of my students contacted you in the way that you were describing, because I have beaten it down to death in my program that this is not how you approach, this is how you want to think about it. And I really stress the positioning of the speakers.
Right.
You cannot approach somebody asking them to share their expertise with your audience and promote. You're basically asking them for two favors. You're giving them visibility, but what you're really doing is you're asking for two favors, most likely of a complete stranger.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
And just to clarify for people, when we say TeleSummit, virtual summit, what you've probably seen is they're often called something like that. And there's somebody who's hosting it, and they do a series of interviews. You often see a page with a ton of photos of the people who are being interviewed in this summit, all on some particular theme.
Of course, because there's a template. There's a template that everybody's using. You got pictures, you got names. Here's my summit.
So we've seen this before, and all this to say, there's ways of doing this wrong, and there's ways of doing it right. And thank God Milana is opinionated about this, which is good. So maybe we could start with, and I know you could talk for a long time about this, but whatever you care to share, what do you see as the big mistakes that people are making on TeleSummits? Where, and I know the way that you started it and what they've become has changed. They've become different beasts, which is probably connected to the blunders. But where do you see it go? Where do you see it go wrong? What do you see as the big mistakes people are making in doing their TeleSummits?
Yeah, so when I did my very first summit, which was called Coaching TeleSummit 2005, the very first one, I taught, the next year I actually taught to an audience of coaches and entrepreneurs how to do their own summit. There was a very novel, unique concept. Everybody was like really kind of excited to learn this collaborative model. And then a few people came out of that audience who did their summit. I remember one lady did Conscious Entrepreneur Summit. Another lady did the Pink Cadillac Summit for Mary Kay people. That was interesting. And so different coaches started doing summits. And what I think happened, how it got lost in translation, is that people who did their summits, they would then report, oh my God, I did a summit and I built a list of 2,000 subscribers. Or, oh, how very cool. I just started my business and these 12 amazing speakers said yes to me and I interviewed them and my business has exploded. So I think people watching it online, as we always do, we watch others, they said, oh, this is really cool. So a summit or a TeleSummit is this event where you just throw people together, you interview them, and you invite them, you ask them to promote, and you build your list. Easy. This is perfect. Like, this is how it works. So the biggest mistake are these two misconceptions, that the TeleSummit will grow your list, but it's not. If you see it as purely a list building event, you're going to fall flat with your summit. It is not a list building event. It is an event that has to be valuable, relevant, tribe building, positioning, value creation, right? That it just happens to grow your list. And the second misconception was that it is not just a bunch of interviews. You want to approach it, or at least that's how I approached it, which allowed me to actually sell the recordings from my summit for 10 years moving forward. Like, only 2 years ago, I stopped selling the recordings from my summit of 2005. So it's not just interviews, it's strategically laid out blueprint of content that you believe you want to offer to your market.
Yeah, I remember when we were talking, you spoke about it as you're doing a telesummit in mind to create a product in the same way that you might, I think of it now, you might create a product where you think, okay, it's a product that's going to help people get from A to B on a certain issue. And so what would the content need to be? Well, I'd need to talk about this, except instead all the content coming from you, you're bringing in people who are relevant experts in that. But there is a kind of sequential nature to it. There's a curriculum that you're creating. Yeah, which is a very different approach, because the vibe I get is, yes, I brought together a bunch of random speakers and we're just going to talk loosely on this topic. And I don't really even know who these speakers are, but somebody told me to interview them, so I don't even know what to ask them. And there isn't a sense of it building towards anything. There isn't a sense of a through line in terms of point of view. And so at the end, it's like, well, this speaker said this and this speaker said this. And so I'm not left with a coherence, a solid picture.
Cohesive vision for what you wanted to deliver, right?
Versus if I got on the summit and, they're approaching this issue from this particular point of view, and that's being reinforced in different ways by all these people, I'm left, with something very, very cohesive.
Absolutely. And maybe, so a point of view is important. You and I talked about that in our last conversation. Sometimes it's hard to incorporate your point of view into your summit when you have multiple speakers. So in that case, your goal is to bring topics together. In fact, that is my biggest secret of creating a highly valuable summit. It is topics first, speakers later. Excuse me.
Yes.
Marty, no. My dog keeps scratching because it's a thunderstorm and he's getting anxiety, so he's just starting to carpet. So topics first, speakers last. Most people will choose the speakers. Let me find all the speakers with big lists. And then they'll come to, in the best case scenario, they'll approach the speaker and say, I'd like for you to speak about this topic. In the worst case scenario, and you've been on the receiving end of this, is they'll ask you, what would you like to talk about? And I would say, I don't know, what would you like me to talk about? What would you like me to share with your audience? What would be valuable? You tell me, it's your summit.
Well, that's a very important piece. And it actually blows my mind that anyone would do it the other way. Topics first, speakers second. It's insane to me, the thought of getting together a bunch of big name speakers and then trying to find a thread, or casting such a wide net, such as just, visionary entrepreneurship or a positive changing the world tele-summit, because all these people vaguely have something to do with that. So, so that's, so to rewind that, I just hear that one of the big orientations you have is you're doing this fundamentally in the mindset of as if you were creating your own product, and you're including other people in it. It's a product that would be so valuable, so worthwhile, that would help people get from A to B that you could sell. And the list building is a likely side effect of that, but it's not the reason you're doing it. You're not doing it as it
shouldn't be a come from place.
Yeah.
I just spoke to somebody who is super well connected. Like you would want him in your network. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have a list of 5,000 people.
Right.
And so he is automatically rejected as a potential speaker simply because his list is not big enough. But the value he could bring to any one of us is incredible. He can connect you through maybe 2-3 connections to the person that would be your dream person. So it's mistakenly approached from the list building perspective. And by the way, those conscious entrepreneur, visionary, I think a lot of the people who are putting those together, they see a summit as a tool for them to inspire.
Right.
Nothing wrong with inspiring their audience, if only they were the only one.
Right.
But if everybody is developing these kind of inspirational events, then it becomes very soft, very non-specific, and it becomes seen as just another summit.
Yeah.
And that's what you want to avoid. That is why the results, the numbers have dropped. because people have no clue how to choose the right theme, the right topic, how to put together, so to speak, a curriculum, a roadmap.
Yeah.
How to maybe choose a topic where you can take a deep dive into a topic.
Yeah.
Even if it's not a curriculum, it could be a deep dive into a very specific topic.
Sure. Right. Looking at this topic from multiple perspectives and lenses
and seeing how different people approach it. For example, I was a keynote speaker in the summit on joint ventures. Everybody does joint venturing differently.
Sure.
So Tad, what is your joint venture strategy? Milana, what is your joint venture strategy? So now we're going deeper into this topic, right?
Right.
So somebody might look at that from the outside and say, well, she's interviewing people. She's just interviewing. There's no curriculum. There's a very clear and amazing strategy because the way that person did her summit. So this is where reverse engineering doesn't really pay off.
Right.
Because what it seems like on the outside, it's not really what it actually is.
Right. Okay. So this is one mistake, I think, approaching it as list building.
Yeah.
As a product. What are the other mistakes that you see people make?
Yeah. So maybe if you've never done a summit, don't do a summit with 65 speakers. I think that's where you are going to face many challenges that you haven't fleshed out yet. So what I do is I actually talk about the 2 or like 3 different models for summit: the beginner one, the intermediate, like the starter summit, the intermediate level summit, and then the cornerstone summit. When you're doing a summit with 65 speakers, it's pretty much a cornerstone summit. And the size of it, the number of speakers, is not the only way to look at it. It's mainly like how much money and time do you want to invest into your summit. And if you have 65 speakers, you can bet that you'll be busy for the next 4 months putting that summit together, because you probably don't have a team yet. It's the wrong model for you, right? So using the wrong model. The beauty of a summit done right is that it can become a cornerstone of your business. Several of my students have created a summit that has become the foundation of their marketing strategy.
And do you mean that it's a summit they do every year, a kind of annual something on a certain topic? Well, this would actually probably be very helpful because this might seem abstract, and we've talked about the kind of niches, the vague niches that don't work. But could you give some examples of summits you've seen that were really focused, had a really particular topic that you thought was effective?
Yeah, I mean, one of my students, Christine Closer, did a summit called Transformational Author Experience. By the way, on a side note, you don't have to call your summit a summit.
Right.
It's an event. You can call it anything you want to. You can call it the Recurring Revolution or whatever you want. So for Christine, her summit is absolutely a cornerstone summit. Because what she does is she gets all these people into her summit who want to write a transformational book.
Right.
They are all in different stage of their book writing journey. Some people are just dreaming about writing a book. Other people have already completed a manuscript. Other people are looking to get published.
Yeah.
Some people wrote a book and now they want to write another one because the first one didn't really do anything for them.
Right.
And so she gets all these people on board. They're all participating in her summit. And then she starts making offers to them at the very end of the summit, but then also as follow-up. A month later, 3 months later, she'll offer something else. So she does it at the beginning of the year and then continues to market to the same audience that she attracted through her summit. So that's one example. Another example is somebody did a summit in my group for childhood trauma.
Yeah. Right.
And not only did it become a cornerstone of her business from the marketing perspective, it has actually become her signature product.
Right.
She can sell it. That is what she wants to be known for, and she sells coaching from it. as a result. So it
Right.
kind of serves as a launch pad for your entire business every single year and builds on it.
Yeah, those are good. Are there any others that come to mind off the top of your head?
We had a lady who did a summit on chronic diseases for children.
Wow.
And it was a summit for the parents, how
Yeah.
to manage that, how to
Wow.
manage your child's chronic illness, how to talk to doctors, where to find social services support, where to get funding, how to work with schools, alternative medicine solutions, things like that. So she did a summit on that topic, got a lot of experts interested in sharing their strategies. So you
Yeah.
can see how it would be attractive to the parents dealing with that.
Right. Well, I think I remember after I got sick of TeleSummits, I was surprised that I said yes to 2 TeleSummits one year. And because one of them they were both actually about how to live the laptop lifestyle, kind of how to travel as an entrepreneur. Because some people like to do this. I'll spend 2 months in this city, 2 months in this, and of course I've traveled a lot. And so I thought I got things to say. I have real opinions about this and practical ideas. And so I was happy to do that. And I was also happy to share it with my list because I thought a lot of my people on my list, I know have some interest in at least traveling a bit with their business and how could you make that work. And there's that. And I remember I saw another one. It was about shamanism as a focus. I saw another, I think I saw one about elderhood or what this might be. So part of this really comes back to the niche conversation of what do you want to be known for? What's your niche?
Yeah.
And what it is you want to be known for?
But see, this conversation can really be shaped by your definition of a niche. You say niche, I say niche, because we're from different countries, from different regions. But if you ask somebody who just did a visionary entrepreneur summit, they'll say that is my niche, visionary entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Right? Somebody who did a summit on stress management, she truly believes that stress management is her niche. Now compare that to niches like TeleSummit for artists. Right. So the difference here is that in my mind, in my opinion, in my experience, a niche is something that you are a member of. It is not just a topic. It's something that you can join because you belong in your mind, in your heart, in your lifestyle. You belong to the tribe. That's why, I started my business. I was a classical musician from Russia. I knew nothing about entrepreneurship. I was really lucky to have stumbled upon a niche called coaches.
Right.
And because I niched so quickly, I was able to grow my business successfully so quickly.
Yeah.
Right. So the artist TeleSummit, another one is for migraine. The topic was on migraine. Now you might think that it's a topic, but actually, so I used to suffer from migraines, and whenever somebody would share that they also suffer from migraines, I would be like, "Oh, tell me about it." So how do you know yours is coming up? It would be a topic that unites us. Step parenting. There is your niche and a topic all together.
Yeah.
So it's something that brings people together because they want to be together. That is a great niche.
That's beautiful. That's really well said. So, of course, so the niche topic will show up in this TeleSummit or virtual summit that you do. But, a deeper conversation, more primary in the business. But it's, of course, why would you do a TeleSummit on a topic of something you don't want to be known for? Why would you do a TeleSummit for a community that you don't want to be a part of? Would be madness.
Right.
But it's interesting because I wrote an ebook called Hub Marketing, and I got the word, that languaging from a fellow, Dominic Canterbury, and as soon as he said it just made so much sense. Just, of course, we know it as joint venture and strategic alliance and all this, but just wondering, where do my ideal clients hang out? Who's already connected to them? What's the media they follow? Where would I find them if I was looking for them? And one of the things that I started doing that I recommend this on my workshops, and I just don't think many people do it, but it's really good, is hosting gatherings and what I would call hubs gatherings. And I remember I was talking with a woman. She won my niche contest a few years ago. I used to run, and she made gluten-free vegan desserts. It was just so clear. I was like, well, and in North Vancouver, it was just, I know exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And so she won an hour of coaching with me, and we got on the phone, and she said, well, I've just moved to North Vancouver actually. And so how do I market myself, connect with people? And I said, here's what you do. I said, first of all, just go, and the call ended in about 10 minutes because they gave us some homework. I said, I want you to make a list of all the potential hubs. So I'm talking all the celiac associations, gluten-free groups, the gluten-free bakeries, the yoga studios, fitness trainers, the vegan and vegetarian groups, just anyone who their people might also be interested in what you do, caterers, restaurants who might want to host your stuff, the organic cafe that might want to, all this stuff. So she made the list. She came back next week with 125 potential specifics. Mm-hmm. I said, okay, now here's what you do. Pick the 50 of them, half of them or less, that you think would be the best hubs. And there's a bit of guesswork here. And just host a gathering. Get together and just say, look, from 1 to 4 o'clock on this date, we all reached the same people. It made sense that we should know about each other. I'm going to have to refer out. You're going to have to refer out for various things. Yeah. And why don't we meet each other? So from 1 to 2, we'll just hang out. From 2 to 3, and we'll hang out. I'm catering it, and so we'll eat. And then from 2 to 3, we'll sit in a circle, and everyone will have 2 minutes to introduce themselves and just share who they are, what they're up to. Then from 3 to 4, we'll mingle. I was like, and you serve your desserts as part of this. This is, and that just this sort of connecting with the hubs, the potency of this. And I see that, and I've also said, something you could. I remember there was a woman came to one of my workshops in Nova Scotia, and I was talking a lot about doing workshops. She sold cloth diapers, and she said, I can't do a workshop on cloth diapers. I said, why not? She said, because you either already used them, or you think they're disgusting. So you're not going. Why? In either case, why would you go to a workshop? And I said, I think you're right. I said, but they might go to a workshop on natural parenting. And then you could have the lactation specialist, the doula, the midwife, the how to clothe your...
This is so interesting, Ted, because that's exactly how you want to approach choosing a theme for your summit. You want to kind of zoom out from your expertise. And because if you're only doing it on your topic, on your specialty,
right,
you're not creating space for other experts to come in and share their expertise. So you're right. So if you're teaching a very particular, speaking of online experts, right. If you're teaching a very specific way to maybe, let's say that you are a step family coach, parenting coach, then you might be able to do like a parenting summit.
Sure.
That's not a very good example because families is already a theme for the summit that would attract the right people.
Yeah. Other examples that come to me that I'll share in my workshop sometimes. Let's say if you sold office equipment, well, it could be, you could do a workshop on office productivity. If there was a fellow in Calgary who was a mortgage broker, but he specialized in entrepreneurs because he realized refinancing your home is sometimes the best source of capital for a business. And I said, well, you should go speak to the entrepreneur groups. And he said, oh, well, they don't, I've tried, but they don't let me in. I said, well, it's probably because you're coming in with a pitch of like, hire me, basically. And I said, but you could do a presentation where you say, here's the 5 major types of financing, credit card, family and friends, lines of credit, and doing that as a mortgage broker and give the upsides and downsides of all of them. Mm-hmm. But of course, the other one he could do is partner with a lot of these people who actually do those things, and they could all share, a very level-headed upside downside of all the approaches. And so entrepreneurs would come to get a sense of how they could finance their business. And one of the other examples, I mean, it's not TeleSummit, it was the same ideas, as a company in California called Moondance Paints. They were one of the first eco-friendly paint companies in the world. And they were in that troubling situation of that I think probably a lot of our mutual clients are in. They had something really good. And they thought if people knew about this, they'd want to buy it, but nobody knows about it. So how do we get them to know about it? And they thought, well, okay, our ideal clients probably hang out at Whole Foods. So that it's a genius idea. They went to Whole Foods and they said, could we do a green home series? And they said, great. And so they partnered with a green landscaper, green interior designer, green architect, I think. And all four of them did presentations at the Whole Foods.
Right.
All four of them promoted it to their lists.
Because the thinking is, who else is selling to my audience?
Exactly.
And that's where you're finding your partners, joint venture partners, promotional partners, your summit speakers. Who else is reaching my audience already? And you know, one of the ways to think about your summit theme, for example, is make sure that you connect it to you want to connect the dots by starting from the end in mind, with the end in mind. Like, what do you want? What offer do you want to make at the end? Who is most likely going to be interested in that offer? And what is their top of mind interest or pain point right now that will get them invited, get them interested in the summit? So we work backwards to land on a really solid, hot summit theme that will serve you and your audience and will not come across as just another summit. Right?
I love it. I'm wondering also if you could speak about some of the results that you've seen happen for entrepreneurs who've done TeleSummits well. What have been some of the consequences for their business of this?
Yeah, I mean, definitely list building. If you do it right, list building is a huge benefit. You just need to approach it with the right mindset and know exactly how to approach speakers, because simply inviting people to be interviewed and then promote it to their audience, that's not the best way to do that. But if you land on the right summit theme, which, by the way, I believe is almost easily 50% of success of your summit.
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree.
Because if you come up with the wrong theme for your summit, what's going to happen is you're going to have a hard time getting speakers. You're going to have a hard time having speakers promote your summit. You're going to be chasing people. People are not going to be signing up for your summit. So all of this is going to be solved with the right theme. But the list building is huge. What's also happening is if you're starting from scratch, you don't have an audience, you don't have a tribe online, maybe you're starting with 0. You can end up with 500 to 1,000 people suddenly that you are now able to talk to send a newsletter to do a webinar to, right? So that's the building of the tribe is huge. I'm actually running a challenge called the Big Tribe Challenge for that reason, because that's what people want, is to build a tribe. The other thing that's happening, and it may be important for a lot of people, is you're going to end up with an awesome product. Right. Right. So now you have something to sell. The artist, the starving artist, this whole notion of starving artist. The woman who did the summit, she attracted 10,000 people into her summit when she did it. And she sold the recordings to a third of them for between $196. She had some weird, we say $197, $297. She had some weird pricing, like $322. Like, she priced at different levels. She included some coaching, follow-up coaching options. So it just revolutionized her business. Again, because artists were starving. It's not starving artists. It's artists were starving for an online community. She created that space for them. So as you're thinking about who to do a summit for and what to focus on, who is starving for other like-minded people to come together, right?
That's a great question.
So, and it's about leadership and positioning. I give me a person who is completely unknown, I'll coach them to do a summit, and they'll become a leader in their niche in 90 days. That is what a summit can do for you. If you do it right, of course, if you choose the right theme.
Why is that? Why does the summit have that kind of impact?
That's a really good question. I think because number one, you focus on it and you make a decision. I want to be positioning myself as an expert on passive income, for example. Passive income. So my niche was passive income for coaches.
Right.
It's too broad. So I would never do a summit on passive income for coaches at this point.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what the heck is passive income anymore, and nobody knows what a coach is anymore, because everybody's a coach, including that lady in my Walmart who says who has a coach on her name tag. But 10 years ago, it worked really well. So I think it's how you focus and how you position yourself. It's also the people you align yourself with.
Yeah.
And because when people start seeing you as a leader of leaders,
yeah,
there is a certain magical bump or boost that happens that gets associated with your name.
I've said this to people when I suggest hosting some sort of hub gathering and get all the people who are also selling to your people together.
That's what it is, a hub. You're becoming a hub and a leader and a resource.
Yeah. Because I say, here's the thing. You get 25 of them together. They won't all remember each other, but they will all remember you. Why? Because you're the host.
Correct.
So you get the benefit of that. And of course there's goodwill because you brought them all together and they're grateful for that. But doing this, what I'm talking about, the hub gathering, that's a private, hidden version the marketplace doesn't see. But yeah, if you were to host, the live version of this would be you host a weekend workshop with a bunch of different speakers. And I remember there was a woman in Calgary, and one of the ways she built her career was she brought in big name speakers for a day-long workshop, but she opened for them. That first hour or 2 hours or something, she was on stage, and so they weren't coming for her. But this is how bands do it too. You're the opening act for a big band, and that's how. I remember when I saw Bon Iver in Edmonton, which was great. There was this opening act called the Staves, and 3 women from England. And of course, before they started, thinking, get to Bon Iver. But by the time they finished, I was like, no, don't stop, keep playing. You're too good.
Yeah.
Never would have come across them if they hadn't had that connection. So I see a similar dynamic here.
Yeah, there's definitely something about the connection. There's also this thing that I call becoming a big papa bear or mama bear for your audience.
Yeah.
Where you essentially comment on every interview, on every presentation, on every session during the summit. You can comment at the end of the interview. You can comment by recording a separate one. You can comment at the end of the day of the sessions. The reason you want to do that is because you want to help your summit participants to process what they have experienced in your summit. By doing so, you automatically become the authority on the subject.
Right. You're offering a sort of summary or distillation or weaving.
And your take on it, most importantly, your opinion, your 2 cents on what you heard, because everybody hears differently, right? So people want to know, what did Milana hear? What did Tad hear from Beck? What did he take from this conversation? And so I often would publish takeaways from the summit 2005, 2006, 2007, like really cool PDFs that people would love to download. Yeah,
it's there's one of the ebooks I wrote, Point of View Marketing, very much about this, that this is so much of what people want to know is, what's your take on it? How do you see this?
Because people value how you think. They want to know what you think.
Yeah, and this is why they follow us. On the surface, the initial reason they follow us, or no, that's not true. The reason they started paying attention to us is because there was some relevance there. Very much the topic, the theme, the niche of what we're doing was relevant to them in some way. They came for the relevance, but they stayed for the credibility. I think they came for that's of interest to me. But there's lots of people offering stuff on the same topic. There's lots of people in this niche. So the reason I think that they will stick around with us is because they trust our point of view, they trust our perspective, our philosophy, cosmology, worldview on all of
and
this.
they enjoy our vibe and personality that you create, and that sense of community that only you can create the way you're creating it, right?
Yeah, that's true.
One of the things we haven't touched on is there's one thing that I did in my summits that most people don't do. I actually haven't seen. I only teach it in my Summits Made Simple program, and I'm always shocked because it's so easy to do. And
Right.
that include a panel discussion.
I
Why
love
don't you include a panel discussion? Those were the most favorite pieces of my summit, where yes, I would get each speaker individually interviewed, but then I would create 3 panel discussions on different topics, and I would prepare questions, and I would move them along. And I will never forget how after the first panel discussion that I did, I opened my inbox and there was, thank you, amazing, bravo, 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 wow. And they're so easy to do now with Facebook Live, with BeLive.tv, with Zoom, all those streaming.
Well, and isn't this the truth that so many of us have this, I would love to see this person talk to this person. I'd love to see these two go at it. Debate, because I respect them both in different ways, and I would love to hear how they act as a kind of whetstone for each other to sharpen my own thinking, So I love that. Now, something that feels very important to this. Okay, so we've talked about a really well-organized telesummit. It has a lot of benefits. It can be very good for one's business. And that where this really starts is having a carefully considered theme, thinking it through, and really thinking through who do I want to interview, who could contribute the most. But once you've got that idea of what it is, and you have the list of people you'd like to invite, then you have to invite them. Right. And I'd love to hear your thoughts about, what should people not do when inviting people, and what might they do? Because first of all, I think this is just useful generally in terms of approaching potential hubs and connection.
Yeah.
But it's just so that people can have an understanding of your philosophy and approach on this.
So keep in mind that I've not only done 12 summits of my own,
right.
But I've coached 50 people in the last 2 years to do their summits. And a summit might feel like a very complex project, which it can be.
Yeah.
So when I started running my program, I actually thought, there's no way all these people are going to do their summits. I'm probably going to, maybe like 3 people will do their summit.
Right.
The majority of people who went through the program ended up doing a summit. Some of them started right in the program, others within the next 6 months. So I love that, because it, as the queen of simplicity, as people call me, because my company is called Simplicity Circle, I do simplify things a lot. And if something feels complex, there's always a simpler way to do something. So this is what I focus on. But what I want to say about inviting speakers is keep in mind that not every speaker is the right expert for your summit. Not every expert is right for a summit, because they might have the right expertise, but they don't understand the value of being in a summit. Sure. They don't understand why you wouldn't pay them.
Right.
They don't like, I had one speaker in my very first summit who said no to me. He was the only one in the history of my 12 summits who said no. Can I say his name? You would know his name. He's a major author.
Good.
And of course, I took it personally because I was just starting my business. What he told me later was that I just didn't want to be featured in the group. I wanted to be on my own. I wanted to be the star of my, of the interview. I didn't want to be like, he didn't like the idea of panel discussions.
Right.
I wonder if he changed his mind now in the social media world, and maybe not. I don't know. It depends on the personality. So don't worry if somebody says no, it's okay. Not every expert understands the value of being in a summit. The other thing I would say about inviting speakers is sometimes you look at somebody and say, man, I really want that speaker. It's an A-level speaker. How
Yeah.
amazing would it be if I could just get them so I could say that they're speaking my summit? But I want to tell you that A-level speakers may actually hurt your summit, not support it. Here's why. Let's say that they say yes, and you start marketing your summit. Ted Hargrave said yes, yay! And then Ted Hargrave travels and disappears. And he didn't send you his bio. He didn't send you his freebie. He doesn't have a topic ready with questions.
You're cutting deep there, Milana. It's too real. It's too real.
He doesn't have anything to say about this particular topic. And the bottom line is, I don't think he's even going to promote like he promised. I'm going to have to chase him. So you're going to spend all that energy and time chasing an A-level speaker. Instead, I recommend choosing, like really focusing on B and C-level speakers with great content, with great enthusiasm for the topic, and people who are really there to support you and your audience, and you will feel that from them. We talked about that early. Make sure that you know what you want them to talk about. I will always say yes if I like this. So everybody has different core motivation, right? For me, it's always a yes. If I have an opportunity to talk about something that I either haven't talked about before or in a different way, like share something in a way that allows me to create brand new content. Get me to create new content and I'll say yes. But if you ask Milana, tell you a story of coming to America, I've done that like 117 times, maybe more.
Yeah.
Or teach something that, on topics that I've been teaching already. It's really about having a unique topic that gets people excited. And I can tell you that a lot of people said yes to me because of that way that I approached. I approached somebody and I said, hey, I know you have this coach training school. I'm curious if you can talk about the biggest mistakes that coaches make that keep them without clients for years.
Right.
He was so excited to talk about it. Well, that was 2006. So maybe this topic wouldn't be that exciting at this point.
It is. I do like that you give them something that would be of interest and exciting for them to talk about.
A hook. Yeah. I give them a hook that is related to what I know about them.
I mean, it's true. I'm happy to, let's say, talk about niching if somebody wants to interview me and do the usual thing. But I'm much more, but in terms of, new content, it's not like, well, that's a video I'll be able to share and wow my people with. No, they've heard it from me before. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be so compelling for people who've been on my list. But if I could talk about something new.
Yes.
Now, so once you've identified them and you approach them with a good ask, are there any other thoughts you have about how people could screw up the approach and offend the person they're approaching and lose a chance to have them on or turn them off?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to keep in mind is that when somebody says yes, it means I'm interested, I'll probably speak, I'll probably show up. It does not mean that, yes, I am 100% on board, I'm fully committed, I will send you everything you need, and I will send 7 emails to promote it. Right. It does not mean that at all. So when you approach somebody and they give you a yes, just have a series of steps that allow you to move them through the process after a yes. And you and I talked about this idea that a lot of times a summit organizer will send them a form to complete.
Right.
If I get a form, I say, you know what, let's jump on the phone. You ask me the questions. I'll give you the answer. You fill out the form and you leave me alone. Basically, because I don't like filling out the forms. And then as far as promotion, and that's a really important piece, don't put pressure on your speakers to promote.
So this is so interesting because it goes against, what I've experienced from a lot of people who approach me with these things is there's
you promised that you would promote. This is why you're a speaker.
Yeah, and that there's a kind of entitlement, and there's a, well, if you're not going to promote, then I'm not going to invite you. Uh,
Mhm.
it's amazing how many people say, we really want to interview you. And I'll say, okay, but I can't promote. Then we really don't want to interview you. Oh, I must have meant so much to you.
Yes.
So why do you not? Because I mean, that just seems like on one level, the intuitive thing is, well, you've got to get everyone to promote. So you've got to get them to, sign a contract, make an agreement that they'll do it. Because otherwise, how are you going to grow your list
Don't
from that?
bother. Don't bother with contracts. I mean,
Right.
unless you're planning to take them to court,
Right.
don't bother with contracts. So contracts are, they do put pressure on speakers, right?
Right.
And that is never good from the bigger perspective of relationship building.
Right.
See your summit as an opportunity to start and nurture powerful partnerships.
Yeah, that's true. Well, it's interesting because I could imagine when I've said this with, an in-person hub gathering, I say, if you do that and everyone has 2 minutes to introduce themselves and you get to mingle, I say, I promise you at the end of those 3 hours, you'll know exactly who to talk with after. Who you want to partner with, probably have some ideas on how. And because of the, relaxed nature of it, at the end, you could say, we should go for coffee. I've got this idea. And I promise you, they'll say yes. Because it's, you've probably been able to read the vibe. And similarly, after you've interviewed somebody and, known their work, you can be much clearer about how to, what might be next, and if there might be a partnership, how they could promote you, you could promote them, something you could do together from that. So,
But let me just wrap up that question, because this is very important. So if you can't put pressure on them, how do you get them to promote?
yeah,
What I like to do is find ways to inspire them to promote.
sure.
I would be like, oh my God, I'm so excited. I have this many people registered. Your topic is so on point for this audience. They're going to love it.
Right.
Here's an image for you that you can post in your social media.
Yeah.
And the image is usually really inspiring, makes them look good, right? So again, it starts with a theme. If they feel good about the theme of the summit, like
That's
you
huge.
probably promoted the summit
I did.
about.
I promoted both the travel ones, which surprised me because I never promote telesummits. Yeah, and I
It's all
absolutely.
about how you feel about being part of this project. You would
Yeah.
want people to know that you're part of it. You
Yeah.
feel like it serves them, it serves you. So find ways to inspire. And if nothing else works, beg. Please, pretty please, I really want you to do this. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, it works sometimes.
Sure.
If you have a level of relationship with that person that you can say that.
It's true. I mean, let's not throw this out, everyone. It's. I just remember there's a woman in Halifax. She ran a restaurant, the Wooden Monkey. That's such a dear woman, and she was so loved, and she just got away with murder. People say, Lil, you owe us, a couple grand on this, and she said, just give me 3 months, just 3 months. I promise I'll have it. All right, Lil.
Yeah, being cute and all, but yeah, pressure never works. It's also not very long-term visionary of you to put pressure on
No.
speakers, because those are the people who may potentially become your promotional partners. You will run into them at events, and you don't want to feel uncomfortable or kind of like the tension in the relationship. You really want people, you know what, if you can't promote, it's okay. More often than not, I will have people say, you know what, I really like it. I think I'll just send out. So when is it coming out? I have a spot on a Sunday. Like, they'll find a way to support you if you're just being a nice person and understanding. Everybody has their own promotional schedule, very protective of their audiences. We understand that. So if you can, awesome, amazing. I will love you for that. If not, it's okay.
I love it. And, to me, it seems to come from this place of how could you design a summit that's so good they would want to share it?
Yes, thank you. Exactly.
So I know, we're running up on time here. So I guess, first of all, just are there any last thoughts you'd want to share with people around TeleSummits? Any last considerations that we haven't covered yet?
Yeah. So I left my business with a business partner 3 years ago. It was $1 million business. I burnt out and I left. And I said, I'm going to start a new business. And as I started a new business, I thought, well, I need a list, right? I need visibility, because I took like a 3-month, 4-month sabbatical. It's amazing how quickly you disappear from the view of your ideal audience when you don't market yourself. So I need like to boost my business. And I was looking for ways like, well, there's now social media, there's Facebook ads, there's all these, things that you can do. There is nothing that comes even close to doing a summit.
Right.
Because of the number of benefits. It will build your audience. It will quickly create that visibility. One of the reasons that you asked me, why do you think it works so well? I think it's because it's like a launch. A summit is like a launch. When you have 25 speakers talking about your summit, suddenly, oh my God, Milana, you are hot commodity. Everybody's talking about you and your summit. Visibility equals credibility. The more people see you, the more they believe that you are amazing, you are to be followed, right? So I just want to say that if you've been thinking about maybe doing a summit, if you weren't sure what's involved, and why you would do a summit, wherever you are in your business right now, whether you're just starting out or you just need a boost for your business for next year, doing a summit will give you that and so much more. And of course, I will be delighted to have people in my program, because I take them step by step through choosing a theme, designing the content of the summit, getting the right speakers on board, figuring out the right monetization strategy, like how you're actually going to make money, and of course, filling your summit with attendees, because speakers promotion, that's just one way to get participation. There are many other ways that you can do it. There are sponsorships, there's affiliates, sponsorship like trade booths, virtual trade show. Obviously there's advertising. There's all these ways, depending on where you are. You can contact an organization, an association. Like there's just other ways to bring people in on board. Yeah.
And I think all those ways become so much more possible with a clear theme and a topic. When it's such a general topic, a lot of those things disappear.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd want to say about the training? I know you've got the Big Tribe Challenge coming up, so this is just the shameless plug portion where anything you want to feel free.
So I run this program. It's called Summits Made Simple. Actually, if you go to summitsmadesimple.com and opt in, you'll automatically receive notifications of the program coming up. So you will know that. There is a Summit Simplified toolbox that comes with it. That toolbox contains ready-to-go templates, examples, emails, just like everything you need to run your summit. That's part of the simplification. We have a virtual summit mastermind, a community for summit leaders. So these are people who are very passionate about doing summits, and they're there to answer your questions. I'll be there to answer your question. One thing that we do that I know people love is a walkthrough, a 90-minute virtual walkthrough before your summit. Before you're ready to run your summit, I literally get on Zoom with a group of people, and we walk through all the pieces that you need to have in place, so nothing falls through the cracks. So, and I have an amazing team to recommend if you actually want to produce your summit. I have several virtual assistants who specialize in summits. So
that's amazing.
It can be simple. Most importantly, it's worth doing, because I don't know of any other strategy that doesn't cost you, like Facebook ads can be so risky, right? So summitsmadesimple.com is where you can opt in. It gives you a free summit planner, like a little PDF file where you can just see how you can plan it out. And yeah, I'm open to any questions, or contact me if you're planning to do one, and we'll talk.
How would people contact you best?
Probably email Milana at milana.com. Milana, Milana@milana.com. That would be my email address. But getting on my list means you'll be getting an email from me. So you'll have my email address.
Sure. And the tribe building challenge, is that?
Yeah, so the bigtribechallenge.com, that's a challenge that kind of starts the conversation about summits. Because a lot of people are not familiar with summits.
Right.
Some people already have some kind of a preconceived notion that they see all these summits and they think, well, that's going to be just another, I don't want to put out another summit. So I'm starting to talk about building your tribe.
Yeah.
And then leading up to the conversation about summits. So you and I kind of talking on the, like,
On the other side of it, yeah.
On the other side of it, right? Before I ever talk about summits to my audience, I talk about building your tribe, building.
Well, it's a good example of what we were talking about earlier, stepping back to what's the bigger conversation. Okay, so tele-summits. Well, why are people doing tele-summits? Well, to build their audience, to build their following. Aha, so we'll do something about that. It's a good example.
I call it a zooming out. So if you wanted to do a list building summit, for example, then hosting tele-summits would be one topic in it.
Yeah.
And then a gazillion of other possibilities that you could. So like, there's so many ways to build your list, Tad. You know that, like thousands of ways. But if you do a summit, it's the one way that allows you to do list building with sort of like JV partners.
Yep.
And you get promoted. You position yourself. It's everything. It's all in one.
I get it. And I've said this to people with the hubs gatherings or doing workshops in partnership with people. With the hubs gathering in particular, I said, look, you host these people, you cater it. It costs you $300-400. But what else are you going to do with the $300-400?
Right. What else are you doing with your time and money, if not the strategy, right? Last thing I'll say, so I did my summit, my very first summit in 2005. Yep. In 2006, I invited a speaker for my second summit, and she said, people are tired of summits.
Right.
That was 2006. So we're in 2019 right now, and anybody who believes that summits are dead,
right, come talk to you.
Needs to explain why I keep seeing summits every single day. There's summits out there. If they were dead, if they didn't work, people wouldn't be doing them. And here's the best part about it. Even if you sort of succeed with your summit, even if you have mediocre success, it will still be better and more impactful on your business than any other strategy that I know out there, because it accomplishes so many things at the same time.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Well, Milana, thank you so much for your time. And
did I convince you? Did I get you on the other side?
You did. I'm delighted to be persuaded on these things.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much. And
thank you for having me. It was a fun conversation, very enlightening. I'm hoping that your listeners and your audience will enjoy this conversation between, what did you call me? Between the two OGs, the original gangsters.
Something like that. Yeah. Wonderful. All right. Well, take care.
Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.